Welcome to So You're Kinda a Big Deal, a weekly podcast deep diving into the lives of emerging and established tattoo artists. Listen in as we dig into origin stories, industry hot topics, and what it takes to survive in the world of tattooing. This is Tattoo Shop Talk. It's funny, it's crass, inspiring, and sometimes we get it right. Join your hosts Shawn, Hedley, and Dave Allen every week as we host a new guest. True North Strong tattoo book. This is a massive tattoo encyclopedia of Canadian tattooers. 350 pages. It's an 11 by 17 coffee table format. Shawn and Dan worked tirelessly to get this thing out, and sadly it never made it to print, so it's available for free download at theholdfastsocialclub.com and championtattoo.ca.
It was great getting to know Curly and this amazing guy that tattooed with one arm. You know, the customer had to stretch his own skin.
So I did get blood poisoning from him twice. Yeah, twice.
Ed Hardy brought this whole Japanese influence into American tattooing.
Once Dave Shore come onto the scene, it was like tattooing completely changed.
If anybody could say anything about greaseball Japanese, it's fucking Dave Shore.
Salty, piratey, bikery, just hard not to do.
Man, he'd pull in on his chopper with the tattoos and the girls, and I mean, he was just like so cool, man.
He captured vulgarity and pleasure and insanity and recklessness.
Tattooer in the 80s or 70s. Just not the same, you had to be a tough guy.
I was scared shitless. Even though I was kind of a biker guy, these were bigger biker guys, you know?
I'm not totally sure you could paint the picture accurately to somebody now getting into tattooing about what it was like then. And the only reason I would say or I feel that way, though, is because they might not believe you.
We had the limo waiting for him with all the lines of blow lined up at the airport. This is the way we do it in Canada.
In like 80s, 90s, Paul Jeffries was like the king of tattooing. It wasn't just in Canada.
Like, am I supposed to stop tattooing? Because if this is what I'm supposed to aspire to, it's not gonna happen.
Each one of these old masters influenced groups of tattooers who in turn influenced other groups of tattooers.
The Hold Fast Social Club presents So You're Kinda a Big Deal with your hosts Shawn, Hedley, and Dave Allen.
saying that it's great to have you on the show because we have brought up Tattoo Zoo numerous times in the last few episodes, just because you've had so many people coming out of your doors. Like that was
so many,
like Sacred Heart in Vancouver was kind of like that new institution of young tattooers. That's what I see that Tattoo Zoo was on the island, was very similar in that way, and kind of cultivating all these new young kind of crazy people just lying their way through they're good or not.
Yeah. I'll take that. Yeah, that sounds great.
I know coming up in tattooing that when anyone talked about the island, the zoo was kind of the first shop that anybody talked about. It was like, that was the heavyweight shop there. It was.
That's nice. That feels good.
Oh yeah, it should.
Yeah,
shit.
That feels
how
great.
long have you had the shop?
We're gonna hit our 20 year mark October 31st this year.
Oh man, that's big.
Yeah, 20 years.
I know, that's crazy. It's Craftsman just celebrated 20 years too. It's like,
yeah,
that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any business, 20 years.
Totally.
Doing anything for 20 years. It's
no kidding.
It's ridiculous.
I don't know about you, but when I started tattooing, I never imagined I would be doing it for 20 years.
No.
Yeah. No.
I guess I'd hoped that I would be, but I don't know. I didn't think it was gonna do what it did. So
yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, maybe just to give people a little bit of background, let's hear about how you got into tattooing. I think that's always a fascinating story.
Sure.
Like, what was your first exposure to tattoos? How did you end up tattooing?
I actually don't know what my first exposure was. I think when I was like 5 or 6 years old, we lived in a trailer park in Nanaimo, and I think there was a lot of bikers in that trailer park. I seem to remember that, and I feel like that's got to have been the first time, because I didn't get it from my parents. They had nothing to do with it, and then really nothing from then until high school. I think I knew one kid that got tattooed, and I don't think he was getting all sorts of weird late 80s stuff, wolves, and he would just talk it up, I got this thing and this is what this means, and it seemed really it just seemed really cool and special.
Well, back then too, because nobody would have had to have a tattoo back then would have been like, holy fuck, you're a badass. What is this? It's mysterious. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and he was not old enough either, so I don't know. I guess in the 80s it was much easier to get tattooed. Not old enough, but his parents weren't signing for him. That's for sure.
I had my sleeves by the time I was 17, so it definitely was not. Yeah, my first set of sleeves by the time I was.
Wild. And then when I moved to the island, I came here for university, but it didn't work. So I just kind of hung around, and I ended up meeting just a bunch of guys who were punk kids who kind of tattooed. And I think they're both still tattooing now. But they were the first ones to tattoo me.
Cool.
Dylan Panzenbook and Jesse Dicey.
Oh, crazy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, real scratchery shit. Jesse tattooed my leg. I think it was my second tattoo, and we're just on the couch at my house watching videos. It was so gross, just so gross. And then from there, there's I feel like in every kind of punk community, there's some guy that everybody goes to because he's cheap or whatever. Maybe he'll trade weed or whatever.
Yeah, trade for beer.
Yeah. And I found that guy, and I started getting tattooed kind of on the regular from him. And he just kind of was always the guy teaching people. So then I just hit him up. I think he'd been tattooing me for a couple of years, and he was tattooing me, And his apprentice came in and was like, I'm out of here. Like, you're terrible. Like, see you later. And he left, and he started complaining about how all his apprentices were just bailing on him. And I was like, well, wow, this is my opportunity. Like, I could get in here. And I really like gave him a hard sell about how old I was and how mature I was and how he shouldn't be teaching these like young kids. He should be teaching somebody like me. I'm 24 and I'm married. I've got my like shit together. And then he didn't want to. He said, it will ruin our relationship. Which it absolutely did.
The other apprentices were telling you that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He was the worst in every way, but he kind of got me in, you know, and I don't think he taught me much. I always sort of tell everybody that I learned which end to point at the customer. And that's kind of it. Later, I think when I would apprentice people, I just look back at what I learned and I do everything opposite.
Yeah.
So I think it's probably a very similar story to everybody.
Yeah, I think from that era, there's a lot of people that came into tattooing, however they could get in, right? Like, and it's not like there were a lot of doors to pick from, even, you know.
Yeah.
You know,
just get in.
Yeah, totally, and then figure it out.
It's like, this is my moment, and it sucks, but it's going to get me here for sure.
Yeah. So go ahead, Shawn.
I was just going to say, with the shop coming up on 20 years, how long have you been tattooing?
Since 97, so like 26, 25-ish.
Yeah,
nice.
Few years, more than a few years before you decided to open the shop. So
yeah, I did 3 years with him, and then I did 3 years at Tattoo Zoo before the woman who owned it decided to sell it.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
I see.
And what was her name?
Her name was Janine. She is not a tattooer. Just I think she was piercing. I don't even know if she did it because she loved it. I think she just did it because she had a shop. I really don't know her story.
Yeah.
She was just like kind of a mom. Like, she brought her kids in all the time, and we just like, I don't know. I think she's the same age as me, but she was like a mom. She was way older than me in my mind.
Yeah.
It's like she was for a real adult. But she hired me when I probably shouldn't have gotten hired. So,
your apprenticeship, was that in a studio, or was that?
Yeah.
Or was that still pretty like punk rock home kind of?
No, he was like, he's this old biker guy, and he had a name for his shop. He opened up shops and closed them all the time. And the shop that I learned in he ran it. I think it was his most successful iteration. I think he ran it for almost 5 years before he closed it and went somewhere else. When I left him, it was like kind of a combination. Like, we had been butting heads about some stuff. You know, I'd been there 3 years, so I was like right in my like, I guess shitty teenager era where I was just like, you don't know what I know. But we were butting heads a lot. But I had discovered, or like he must have told me, I don't know how I found out otherwise, but he was somewhere in the realm of 8 months behind on rent.
Holy.
And I was like, you know, this shitty young kid, but I was kind of like, you got to pay the rent. Like, you've got me, and you've got this other guy and this other girl. Like, we're all working for you. Like, our livelihoods depend on you paying the rent. And he's like, my kids eat. He's just like, my kids eat first. And I'm like, but if the shop closes, your kids aren't going to eat. And so that was when I kind of really formulated I got to get out of this. I got to get out of this thing. But he was so, I don't know, like abusive or toxic in the bad boyfriend kind of way, where he was just making me feel so bad about myself all the time that I didn't really realize I could work somewhere else. It was kind of like, this is the only place I could work. No one else will have me. And so when I decided that it wasn't working for me, I was like, well, maybe tattooing just isn't for me. And at the time, I think I just started bartending. I really enjoyed it. So I was kind of like, maybe bartending is my thing and tattooing is just going to be a thing I did. And so when I quit working for him, it was with every intention was just to go home and not even think about it for like forever. But Janine called me that night, and I don't know how she knew. It was like no social media. Like, I don't know how she knew that night, but she was like, I heard you quit. We need somebody this weekend. And I think I moved into Tattoo Zoo at like maybe a week after James Tex had left.
Oh, crazy.
She was like, we've got an opening. This guy just left. And I was like, okay, I'll come in.
James who?
Yeah, exactly.
Back then.
And like I still have my portfolio from back then that I got hired on, and it's depressing. I always say like I would not have. I don't think I would have hired me. Like maybe get an apprenticeship and come back.
It's a different time though, right? Like if you had a busy shop, you're probably desperate for an artist because there were not a lot of them around.
No, not a lot. So
and she couldn't tattoo. So who's keeping the shop open? She just needs bodies.
Yeah.
What was the tattoo scene like in Victoria back then? Like, because that's a port town historically. Esquimalt had a base and everything.
Where we were at the time was very touristy. Like it was the tourist destination spot, like Wharf Street and Government Street. So they're like two real heavily trafficked sort of tourist spots. So it was a tourist shop. It was that shop that you go when you, I don't know, like when you go to Hawaii and you're just walking on the strip and there's one shop and the lights are all fluorescent and they're like, and it's just constantly fucking buzzing. That was it. And so from, I think May to October, it was like as busy as you could imagine. And then kind of like right after Thanksgiving, it's like taps shut off. No one coming in for the next 4 months.
I believe it. I lived in Victoria back then, and it was totally that town.
Yeah, it was, and the location just didn't help because like it's such a tourist street. Like, you know, when I worked there, I went there, and when we moved the shop off that street, I have not been back. Like, I don't want to go fucking down there. It's awful.
No kidding.
But yeah, so that for me, that was the vibe. You know, I was, and it was great for me because I was learning, and you know, even with 3 years at the other place, it was like, I don't know, I didn't learn anything. And so, you know, you were just learning by putting in the hours. And so having all of these tourists made it kind of like the best, it's like the best way to do it. If you're not going to leave the town that you live in to learn,
hopefully the work leaves the town.
Yeah, hopefully the work leaves the town.
Genius.
So, yeah, so I mean, we, like a lot of the guys that were just doing like whatever the fuck they wanted because you could just get weird, and what are they going to do?
Yeah.
So it was a really great place to learn, I think, at that time.
Did you have any aspirations to find another mentor? Was there any? Were you finding help anywhere, or?
It was right. So that would have been. I moved into that shop in probably spring of 2000, and very quickly after, this guy that I used to play in a band with, Trevor Shea.
Oh yeah,
he works in Vancouver now. He came. He had been in Toronto, and I think he was learning to tattoo in Toronto, or he was tattooing in Toronto. I'm not super clear on his history. He came and started working with us, and he got me, I think, more jazzed on what's outside of the shop, or what's outside of the city, because he'd come in from Toronto and he had his sleeve done by Bill Baker. I think Bill did one of his arms, and then the other guy,
Scott McEwen.
Yes. And Scott did his arm, and so he was, I don't know, he was he was kind of like the first big city tattooer, I guess, that I talked to, and then and then Bill had started putting out Machine Gun Magazine, and Reed Street Forum kind of was, I think I found it in one of the magazines, and then Reed Street Forum, I guess, was my mentor.
Oh, I think that was for a lot of people.
Yeah.
From that era, a lot of people.
The critique section.
Yeah, that critique forum. It changed everything for me. You know, the rare time I posted, but just reading critiques, just seeing other people critique other people was God, it was amazing.
I was always logging in just to see who did Jeremy Friesen critique today.
Yeah.
He was harsh but fair.
Harsh but fair.
He just has bad language.
Yeah.
Jeremy, he's great.
Jesus. Oh my God. So 2000. So who was with you at the shop? So there's Trevor, and who else was with you?
In 2000, sort of between 2000 and 03 when I took over, it would have been when I started. Rich Hanford was there.
What? Wow. Yeah,
I didn't know Rich Hanford was there.
I don't think he was tattooing. I think he hung around there, and then in the very short, I think the first summer I was there, he convinced Janine to let him tattoo. I think he'd been doing the thing where you just hang around forever and then eventually they're just going to let you. But maybe James had also just been showing him stuff. I wasn't there. I don't really know. But he had convinced Janine to just let him work. And so she just let him use the station, and he just worked. He worked, and I don't think it was for very long. Like maybe a couple weeks, and then he just disappeared. Somebody came in and was like, "I'm here to see Rich," and we're like, "Yeah, he's not here," and then he never came back. But I think he went.
That doesn't really sound like
to
a bad
Calgary. I think he went to Calgary with James, and because I think they were close. I don't know.
Yeah, still are.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
I know they are now, but
Yeah.
I think they were then too.
Okay.
But I was just like a brand new outsider. I didn't really know. And then, so Rich left, and then it was just me and this guy, Kevin Mirhoy. I'm pretty sure he doesn't tattoo anymore.
Okay.
I think I looked him up on Facebook a couple years ago, and he's like working in the oil fields or something.
Huh.
And then this guy, Mateo.
Oh yeah.
Who's I think he
he's still
came over from
tattooing.
Vancouver. What's that?
I think he's still tattooing.
Oh yeah, heck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I feel like that was it for a while. There was a friend of mine from high school. Her name was Sonia. I don't remember what her last name was. I'm 90% sure that she has passed. But she worked there briefly. I think that's it. I don't think there was very much. I don't think there's a lot of people to change over. She had me running the shop almost immediately. She started paying me like a little bit extra to manage the place, but I didn't really do anything. I just said, just start showing up, guys. Just show up.
Please show up.
but I've always been like, I've had just like that insane work ethic thing where I'm just like, I'm be the first one there, be the last one to leave. And I made her a lot of money, I think, looking back.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then when I took over, by the time I took over, I think Kevin was the only one still there. Mateo had left the summer prior, and me and Kevin didn't really get along. So I just kind of said, like, maybe this isn't going to be for you when I take over. And he was like, yeah, I kind of want to go to the mainland anyway. So he left. And then, so when I took over in 2003, it was just me.
Oh, crazy.
I was the only person. I bought a shop that
Had
I
no
was the
staff.
only talent in. Like, I don't know why I did that. I didn't want to open another shop. I thought that 5 shops in the city was enough.
Yeah.
And she wasn't asking too much. It was a lot. I definitely overpaid, but I didn't feel like it was too much. It felt like this seems reasonable. You know, I know now that it was way too much and I could have opened my own thing way less, but I felt, I don't know, I was really nervous about it. I didn't want to go into it with like no goodwill.
Yeah,
I knew
totally.
like this shop has at least a 10-year history. So if I do take it over, I've got some history to fall on. So, I mean, and it worked out. So hooray.
How long did you hustle by yourself to keep?
Oh God, 2 months, I think. I immediately,
that's too much.
Yeah. I hired this one guy from Vancouver, this Cuban guy named Hans, who came over for a week, and it was apparent that, I think he did 5 tattoos in the shop. It was apparent that he needed someone to mentor him. And I was like, I just bought the shop. I'm like, no place to like help you. I need somebody who can work so I can have a day off. So I was just like, I love you. You're a really sweet guy, but this is just not going to be it. And it was like so much pressure. He had like come over with a newborn, and
oh man,
I was just like, I can't be like, this isn't going to work, and I can't fire you later when you're established here. It's going to be too hard. So then I think I just started hitting up the guys I knew on Reed Street. Me and Lucas had been like trading paintings and stuff and messaging back and forth. And I think I offered him a job, and it was right before he was about to leave Open Classic. And then I found Jeremy. And he came over, he did a guest spot the last week of December of that year, 2003. So, and I know this because we ate breakfast at Denny's on Christmas Day. It was the only place open.
Oh, crazy.
We picked him up at the airport.
Huh.
Oh, wow.
I think.
So what Jeremy, just for people?
Friesen. Oh, Jeremy Friesen.
Yeah.
And then I think it was just him and me for a really long time. He was working 7 days a week. And I think I was doing 5 because 7 is too much.
5's too much.
And I think, 5's too much. But I think after the first year, I think we said to Jeremy, hey, what days off do you want? He's like, I don't need any. And I'm like, no, what days off are you going to take? Because I need 2 days without you. And he's like, I guess I'll take these 2. And I don't know. I thought we worked pretty well together. He is, he's a hard person to love, I guess. But he's a real sweetheart.
He's got all the right qualities, like he's honest, he's loyal, he speaks straight, but but sometimes that can be hard to be around.
Yeah, I guess so. I think we had a couple of differences of opinion. He ended up working with us for, I think, almost 5 years, but he was the first real person that I hired. So I feel like our relationship I never reached the right level of relationship with him. He was the first person that I hired, and and he was coming into this new space, and everything I was doing was new, and so he was part of the growing of the shop. And so I think for him, I was never the boss. And because everyone after him, I was the boss. And yeah, I think it took a while, but I think I became the boss when he left, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, because we're coming up on the 20-year thing, we've been doing, my partner's been talking about doing a family tree of the shop and like who has come through the shop and where they are and how we're all connected. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, so
that would be very cool.
Yeah, so it's good timing to talk about this because it's all stuff I've been, I guess, collating in my head.
Yeah,
you know, because after Jeremy started, we think Colin came on board, Colin Wiley.
Oh yeah, he's great.
So great. Like
I just saw him last week. Yeah.
Oh man.
Like I love that guy so much. He is such a sweetheart.
Yep.
And I don't know how I met up with him. I don't know how he came to the shop. I don't remember him guest spotting. I don't remember him. I guess he just probably came in. He came in.
Did he come from Toronto?
Yeah, he came from Toronto.
Did he come out around the same time as all those other guys that came out, like Chris David?
No, he was out way before all of them.
Oh, okay.
But it must have been Jamer. It must have been Jamer that introduced me. Like maybe because I think Jamer was at that point. Jamer was probably back in town. He was working with Rick. I don't remember his last name. He's from Calgary. He opened a shop in Victoria for a brief period.
Wilson.
Yeah,
Rick
Wilson.
Yes, Rick Wilson. And I think that must have been where it came from. And then Colin brought Brian Turnbull.
Yes,
because they worked together. I think in Toronto, where they
did
Lucky
13.
Yeah, Lucky 13.
I did 3 days with them. That's how long I lasted.
Oh God.
A quick side story. Sorry, I went there to find a job to escape another shop, and those guys are awesome. That's why I wanted to work there. And my first day, like I got hired when they weren't there, and I went in for my first day, and they're all like, "Oh, we're all leaving." I was like, "What do you mean?" Yeah, we're all the fuck out of here. This place sucks. I was like,
no.
3 days later, I was gone.
Yikes.
That place did suck.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
Yeah, Brian came and guest spotted because him and Colin were so tight. And then we didn't have space for somebody, but we were like, let's move around the shop and like let's make some room because the shop is huge. Like it was like 1,200 square feet. And
oh wow.
We had 3 stations. No.
Yeah.
No. So I think, and Jeremy was not thrilled at the idea of having more people work with us, but I thought it'd be really cool. And I've never believed in the like, the pie. There's like no pie, right? More people bring in more work. That's like,
totally.
we're not all just sharing the same 100 people. Yeah. And then when Brian came in, then I think once with Colin and Brian, then I think Jamer just wanted to be a part of it because I think he left Spitfire right after that and hit me up and asked me to make Jamer and I knew each other for a really long time, just like everybody in Victoria. And he wanted, he was like, I'm leaving Spitfire. I don't want to answer the phones like Rick has me doing. I want to do my own thing. Can I just like come and work a couple days a week and just do what I do? And can you leave me alone? And I was like, yeah, that's fine. Like we had like a little upstairs space. And he's like, and then him and Johnny Murdoch shared that space because Johnny was out guest spotting, I think, for just a couple months. So it was like I'll hire you, Jamer, to come work, but you have to share this space with Johnny, but he's only here for a month. And then Johnny was just like, I'm going to stay. I was like, but you can't stay here because I'm already committed to Jamer for this space. and he doesn't like this. So we have to like figure something out. And then shortly after, I think Jamer left to open his private thing in Chinatown. He did that little private upstairs thing that he was doing, and he tried to get me to come with him, but I was like, that doesn't make any sense. And he's like, I'll give you 90% if you just come with me. And I was like,
wait a second.
But I don't. That doesn't work. It doesn't make any sense. I don't. How could that be? And then Government Street opened, and then everybody started leaving to Government Street. For a while, I was feeling like a Government Street farm team.
Yeah, no doubt.
And then who came on after that? Cody Walsh, I guess.
Oh man.
Oh yeah.
And he was there for a while. Kyle Carter, who was with us for so long. And Bart. Bart Vander Eyden.
Yeah.
He was not for long. Just he was on. I think he was there for a year, maybe. I don't think we meshed well, he and I. And Michael was in around that time too. I don't remember exactly when. I felt like that felt like the best summer for me. It was the right after Michael was hired. Eckel approached me about just doing like a 2-month-long guest spot, and then there was just so many people coming through the shop. Like, I think he was there for 2 months, and I don't think he tattooed anybody. He tattooed one person, I think, that wasn't a tattooer.
What was that like? What was that like? Most of us could never
weird.
imagine having someone of that caliber in the shop and bringing that kind of traffic through.
It was really weird and super fucked, like, because he would tell me after. Like, oh, yeah, that was Phil Kyle. Oh, yeah, that was Lee Conklin or whatever. Like,
how are you not introducing yourself to everyone that walks in the door? Hi.
Yeah, but also, like, how are they also not just saying
true
hi? And, like, I was just like, what's happening? And
like
so then I started saying, like, just tell me, like, who you're tattooing the day before, like, in the morning, and then, like, I'll make sure. And he's just like, I don't know who they are. I don't know.
He doesn't care.
Like, so it was I don't know. It was a funny summer. And then after that, God, it was just that summer was really nice. After that summer, I think Michael left to do his own thing, and I think Michael wanted a little more from me as an owner. I think he wanted a partner, and I did not.
He was making moves, was he?
I don't know that he was making moves, but when we first started, I mean, you know that thing where you start flirting about a job? I'm interested in coming to work with you. He kind of just said, have you ever thought about taking on a partner? And it's just like, we're just in the like we're not even dancing yet. Like this is too soon. And then he never brought it up again. But I think that that's what he wanted. And I don't think I'm never gonna partner with somebody. I've got the thing going, and
you got it
works
under
the way I
control.
like it.
Yeah.
But after that summer, I think that's the spring following that. So that'd have been like 20 2011, maybe. That spring, my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer, and then everything fucking changed. I stopped working as much. I was at home with her all the time. Her treatment was about, I think it was almost a full year.
It's heavy.
And, and stuff, and that's Bart quit kind of in there. And I hired a couple other people, Mason LaRose and Caroline Paquet. But nobody was the shop wasn't the same because I wasn't there. I wasn't invested in the space.
Yeah.
I had other priorities, I guess. But when we came out of that, we realized we need to make some changes in the way we run our business and the way we run our lives. So we started looking for a new space because the being on a tourist block comes with all those tourist expenses, and it was just too much. So we really wanted to find a way to pay less, have less overhead, so that we weren't having to constantly hire people, or when people leave, it's the end of the world. So we were just kind of let's find a place that is has a reasonable rent. And we found the space that we're in right now. And it was it was in a better location. It was a better looking shop. It was much cheaper. It was a little bit smaller. But everything about it was so perfect. And it wasn't owned by a corporation. It was just owned by this guy, Joe, who was when something breaks, Joe comes by. And it was everything that I imagined a tattoo shop should be. And so we found that place, we built that place, we moved to that place. And then everybody left because change is really hard. It takes a minute, but they all kind of start looking around, being I think it was better in the old space, or that kind of stuff.
Sometimes when change happens, it begets more change too. People just they kind of feel up in the air, and they're well, this is a good time for me to move. Yeah,
right. Holy shit, everything is fucking changing, and I'm not controlling any of it. But wait, I can control this thing. I can do this part. And I love it because when we moved the shop, I was ready for a change, and so we really shifted kind of everything about the way we're doing, and we really we've always had this idea in our head that the shop would be talented and would be approachable, because I find that a lot of times those two things don't go together. And I really wanted to we've always sort of said we want to make a shop that you can bring your mom to. It's, if you're doing good work, then the regular tattoo kids are going to come. But if you're also being kind, then there's a whole other market. So
totally.
So we really wanted to focus on this other market while doing strong tattooing, because we were if you do both, you're gonna win the game.
Absolutely. And you should be kind. There's no reason not to be.
Yeah. Looking at it now and looking at where my life is now, it's that idea, that plan that was us trying to make a safe space. We didn't have the language for it because I don't think anybody did back then. But that was us trying to do this thing. We were trying to make tattooing just more accessible, even though maybe, I don't know that we knew that's what we were doing.
I think that was an industry-wide thing, and well, I shouldn't say industry-wide, but definitely in Western Canada, there was a lot of shops, people our age, Sacred Heart that I came up in, that was a really big thing. It was about being kind, and anybody should be able to walk in, get tattooed, feel
Yeah.
comfortable, and not feel judged, or it's a tattoo shop, so we should accept everybody.
Yeah.
And
New tribe,
really,
Toronto, that I came out of, right? So same thing, very inclusive and stuff.
It's
Queen
so
Street
great.
cut, and and that's just kind of carried through all the shops that I've kind of continued to associate and work
Right.
with. So
Right.
yeah,
I think
so
that's
great.
a natural pendulum swing from what came before us, right? Which would have been, those hardcore biker shops that so many of us were terrified of and got tattooed in, and
Yeah. So, yeah. And then for us, we did that, be kind. And then I think it was probably in 2016, who was working at the shop then? I feel like Caroline was still there. Caroline Paquet. Tammy was there. Does everybody know her last name? I don't even know. She has a secret. I don't know if she has a secret last name or, but her Instagram is Tammy Tattoos. And Nicole Nowicki, who is one of the unfinished apprenticeship people that I have gathered. When we all started, we were all working there when, obviously 2016, the Trump thing, which also oddly enough corresponded with that thing that happened. I don't know if you guys remember it but I think somebody in Vancouver made a funny little sign that said, "This is not a safe space." And
never heard of that.
Everybody went fucking crazy for it. All the bro guys that I was following on Instagram were just like, I need this poster. I'm gonna put it in my shop. It's really important that we tell all the blue hairs that this place isn't safe for them. And then I saw that and was like, why would you not want these people in your shop? Why do you? Don't they're all in university. They all have money to burn. Bring them on. So we really leaned hard the other way. We made my partner made a poster that she started selling, and we started donating the proceeds to what is the civil rights thing in Canada? The CCLU, I think.
Actually, I don't even know.
Canadian
It's so
Civil
weird.
Liberties Union.
I'm more knowledgeable of American stuff than I am Canadian stuff. Right?
It's the ACLU, but it's for Canada. And then and that poster went crazy. I had lots of not fights, but disagreements with other tattooers about keeping tattooing dangerous or salty. And I mean,
okay, sorry, we just saw at the Okanagan Tattoo Convention the toughest t-shirts for sale by the scrawniest little people.
Yeah.
It's you're not keeping it dangerous.
No, they are not.
You know what? I think most of those people never worked in that environment and wouldn't survive it. Some of us that worked in those environments would never ever want that to happen again.
No.
And but I think they're being romantic for something they think it was and they think they identify with it. But the reality is they probably would have a tough time with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But it's funny that we started doing it because it kind of turned out to be, it changed who ended up wanting to work with us. It ended up changing not a lot of our clientele, but we were that was kind of our clientele anyway. But it just really, I think, cemented our place in the sort of queer community in Victoria, and which was really helpful for me when I would come out in 2020. So
perfect.
It's all those little pieces just were working so well, and getting to that, I guess.
Well, it's cool when you find your path, or like some people
Yeah.
say your people or whatever, but it's like, your tribe. It's such a
Yeah.
rewarding place to be,
Yeah.
And I think any tattooer would want that, like, you want to be around people that are like-minded and,
Yes.
and
So much so.
it makes it easier to be yourself,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess I got off track because I wasn't talking about the people who I was working with.
That's okay.
because right around the same time, that was when I really started doing. Like, I totally fucking skipped Chris Hold.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Love
what
that
the
guy.
fuck?
Yeah, he's super nice. He's such a good guy. Solid
God,
tattoos.
God, I love him so much. And when he came into the shop when it was, I think it was Colin, Brian, and Jamer and me.
Oh my God. That's a great shop.
Yeah. And, he came in, I knew his sister from the early 90s in the hardcore scene. And she had said, "Oh, my brother's going to come over and like talk to you today." And I was like, "Okay, sure." And he came over and he had like, I don't know, I think he brought a bunch of books and maybe like a little portfolio. And he was like, "I really want to learn how to tattoo." And he walked in, and some people who aren't tattooers, but they are.
Oh
like
yeah.
He walked in, we had a conversation. I was like, "Let's go for coffee tomorrow and we'll like talk more about this." And then he left. And Jamer and Colin were like, "Who's that guy? Is he a tattooer?" And I was like, "No, he wants to be one." And they're like, "Oh, he's a tattooer." And so I said, well, he wants to apprentice here. And I think I'd almost been tattooing 10 years at the time. And I was like, "I don't know if I can do it alone. Will you guys help?" And they were like, "Yeah, he should be a tattooer." So he came on board, and he lived in Vancouver, but took the ferry over. He also had a place here, but he would take the ferry over and stay for 4 days and then go back to Vancouver every week.
Crazy. Why?
Because his partner was in the legal field, and the difference in pay is ridiculous from Victoria to Vancouver. So they were never going to move. And so when he came to me and was like, "Listen, I want to go work at Sacred Heart," it was kind of like, yeah, I knew this was coming. Like, your wife still lives in Vancouver. Like, you're never gonna put in the years here. But I loved mentoring him so much. He was the first person that I really mentored, and I really fell in love with it. I don't love like the time sink that it is, but I love the relationship that it is. So I like to mentor somebody and then take a break for some time and then do it again, because I just love it.
I'm curious, for someone who didn't really have a good entry into tattooing, like good mentorship, and you love mentoring, what's your approach? Like, how do you, because it's obviously different than the way you got brought in.
Right.
Like, how do you look at it? What do you focus on?
God, that's really tough. It's different for everybody. I feel like I focus on what they need. Chris, I felt Chris needed to get out of his way. So for him, most of the focus was that, like, get out of the way of yourself. Like, you can do it. Just like, stop getting hung up on all the detail-y things, I guess. And then later with Nicole Nowicki, she came to me. She had a half apprenticeship, a 3/4 apprenticeship with Russ at Electric Umbrella. And I don't think they got along or something. I'm not too sure about what the details were, but she came and asked me if she could move and if I would finish her apprenticeship. And I asked Russ, and he's like, "Yeah, fill your boots." And for her,
such a great statement. I can hear his voice saying.
And for her, it was learning. She needed to. I think she needed to learn to be better with clientele. I think she needed to relax. I think my focus for her was like, just relax. Like you can do it. You just like, oh God, it's the same. It's just get out of your way.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Well,
I guess that's all it is. I want to find people who I see something in, and then I just want them. I want to tweak them, you know?
Yeah.
I don't like apprenticing people. Like, I hate watching somebody with that like death grip on the thing and they're like, everything's shaking and they're doing the first, like, I hate it. It makes me so anxious. But like tweaking the stuff, just sort of saying like, hey, why don't you not do it that way and just do it this way? Or why don't you like think about things with this, from this point of view, rather than, you know, why don't you pay attention to the rules that everybody's been talking about because they're important for somebody, and so let's learn them and then break them.
Yeah.
But for me, it's just I don't know. It's I guess it's just a very relational. Everything about me is relational. It's really intense. It's really close, I guess. You know, I tried to do the same thing with Craig Lunn. He came in and I think we worked together for a month. But it wasn't there relationally for me. And so I couldn't do it. Like I wanted to, because he's a great kid, but it wasn't I don't know what you need, but I don't know specifically what it is I need, but we didn't have it.
Yeah. You know when you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the longer you have a shop too, and the more you care about your environment, the more you're selective with who comes in there. It's, you know, because one new person coming or going changes everything.
Yeah. So much.
Yeah.
So much so. But yeah, so I think that it's super relational. You know, I go in and we focus on whatever they need the most. One of the latest people that came through, Vic Lee, I guess. I think that they needed to focus on drawing. Like, they were one of the people who came in and who were the right person with the wrong ability set to start. And you know, when they first started, there was a lot of, you know, I don't know if I can draw this well enough, or I don't know if I can, you know, and you know, I just encourage them to keep working at it, keep drawing, and keep drawing and fix this part and draw this again, and then and now like they're doing great, you know, they're so I think I don't know, it's different for everybody. It's different for everybody.
Yeah.
I'm teaching a young trans girl right now who is probably like one of the harder people to work with, because her stuff is so strong. You know, she's a lot like Luna in that respect. She comes from oil painting, and she has just this insane level of talent that I don't have. And I'm trying to like hold her back while she learns basics. And for her, that's what she needs. She needs someone to say no. Like, you can't do that. You need to do things that are hand size. No, not as big as like 2 hands. Hand size is hand size, 1 hand. Like,
it's tough when you have somebody who's got that kind of ability. In art, you know, in our field, art is the number one thing, right? Like, the better you can draw, the higher up you kind of rank. So it's got to be hard to mentor somebody, and I hope they're going to listen to you when they're looking at your drawings and being like, well, I can draw circles around you. Why would I listen to you about anything, right? But I think that's an important mentorship in itself, you know, because tattooing is a totally different thing than oil painting.
Well, yeah, and you don't want to be harsh, right? You don't want to be like, yeah, you can draw circles around me, but your line work sucks.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Be more tactful with it and stuff. But sometimes you just want to say, listen, your fucking line work sucks. You got to stop and listen to me sometimes.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, and it's such a hard thing to say, and a hard thing to hear too. But I think it's so important, like especially with the young, like the youngest of them. It's just so you have to like hold their hands, but also like let them make mistakes, and I don't know. It's like it's a.
Do you approach it any differently than from your first time you mentored somebody? Like as you're getting more experience with it, is it changing?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's for me. I'm a lot kinder, I think. There was a lot of stuff I think with Chris where it was like this is how an apprenticeship goes. So you need to make your own needles, and and Chris, we had Chris making his own needles, and then he started tattooing, and he's like, I don't know why my lines look like this, and we're all like, yeah, I mean, it could be your needles, man. and Colin at some point said, can we just let him buy needles, because like I think it's all in I think his needles are really terrible. And part of me was like, no, he should get fucking good at it. But I'm not good at it. I was never good at it. So how am I going to teach him to be good at it?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
I think if you're going to teach someone how to make needles, everybody has to use their needles. You know, like I was making needles for everybody. Well, not everybody, but a lot of people like Steve Moore and Driscoll and Shawn and some other people. And man, the feedback was like, this one sucks. This one sucks. Make that one again. What the fuck are these 10 needles? They're all fucking crap. Like,
yeah. In hindsight, I should have done it that way. But also, I didn't want to use crappy needles.
Yeah, no.
I think it was right at the time. I feel like it was right when pre-mades were like finally a normal price, where it was like, well, actually, these actually cost me the same if I just buy them, and I like that a lot better. So I don't do that anymore.
No,
I don't. I let them guide it a little bit, like what they want to do and what they want, what kind of tattooer they want to be, I guess. In the past, I was very much like, you need to learn all of these things. You need to learn how to do lettering, and you need to learn how to do this. And now I don't. I encourage them. I don't know. I'm just really soft, I think, about it. Because I don't know. I don't want to traumatize these kids. Like I had a shitty time, and I definitely don't want that to happen. And I want to help them grow, but I want to help them more. I want to help them want to. I guess.
Yeah, I think you need to prepare them with a foundation. You don't need to shape their whole career.
Yeah,
it's up to them.
Yeah, like I don't need to tell them, like they don't need to know how to do lettering, but they need to know how to do clean lines.
Yes.
And then I can encourage them to realize that lettering is just clean lines.
Yeah. That's what I'm doing right now with my apprentice. I'm like, it's great you want to be like the trad rad guy and, do all the cool shit, but like you're coming into a shop that I already have that. I already have those artists, and I have a lot of walk-in traffic at my shop that is not that. And you need to be able to do that stuff. So if you only know how to use a 9 and I have infinity symbols coming in, you have to be able to do the infinities.
Right.
Like you have to start practicing that stuff, right? I'm not doing it to be mean or like but it's just like that's kind of what my shop needs right now, right? And it's like, do that stuff for a year, and in that year, all these people are going to see your drawings, and you're going to build your clientele off of that, right?
Yeah,
so,
totally.
But I do feel mean sometimes when I'm just like, stop drawing that shit. Draw this shit.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, if you spend a year doing stuff with 3s and 5s, when you get back to the 9s, it's just going to be that much crispier. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't, like, everything feeds everything except like reverse.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just line things with an 11 and then be like, I can do 3s too.
And your first year of tattooing, you probably shouldn't be lining everything with a 14 because it's just going to age so bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So, where's your shop at now? Like, where are you located? Who's working there? What's the shop vibe?
So now, since COVID, when we went into lockdown, when we came out of lockdown, we went private like everybody had to, and we just have never stopped.
Cool.
Because we love it, and because for me, the timing of the shop, and COVID and transition, they're all like, that's all one thing. Like, I came out in the beginning of March 2020. We all stopped working at the end of March 2020.
Wow.
You shut down the world.
Yeah.
Totally.
I came back to work, and then it was a private studio, and suddenly my biggest fear with transition and coming out was, how am I going to handle all these guys coming in and talking to me about tattoos that I've been talking to 6 weeks prior, 8 weeks prior, and I didn't have to, because the government said, no, you can only be private. So I started dealing with everybody through email. My clientele totally shifted. It went from like kind of a 60-40 woman-man thing to like 99-1 woman-man thing, which is fine by me.
Yeah.
And but when we came back, we were just like, we'd stopped being like this big open concept thing where there's like 5 beds touching each other while everybody's working, into these 3 little quiet spaces. And then as we've been allowed to, or as everything was relaxed, we opened the space up. So we're now with 5 stations. There's 4 of us that work there full time. And one person that comes down from Nanaimo once a week that does she's like semi-regular resident, I guess.
Resident. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that term.
And we're private, everybody, we moved to a rent system, middle of last year. I think I was a little late on that.
It's great, eh? As an owner, it's pretty great.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm still not there yet.
It's
one day.
It's really great.
I know.
Like, it is less money coming in, like as an owner. Obviously, there's more money when you're doing things with a percentage, but that thing where you're like in the shop and 2 people are just like fucking around, and you're like, why aren't you fucking working?
Yeah.
You don't have to do that.
No, I know.
Like,
it's great.
Oh, you paid this month. You just, you like, go home. I don't care. Do what you want. Totally. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But especially like, because we're private, it really works. I think if we were open to the street, it would be a lot harder, because it's a lot harder to have somebody pay rent for their space and then also tell them like somebody has to be here till 7 because the sign says we're open.
Yeah.
So we're doing the private thing. We're on 826 Fort Street in Victoria.
Fort Street. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a nice neighborhood.
God, it's really nice, but don't get excited because we're moving.
Of course.
In April of this year, we bought a small commercial space, and
awesome.
Right on.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. So we're going to be moving into that, and it's going to be like, it's pretty much just destined to remain private, because it's, the layout is like, treatment rooms, I guess. There's like 2 rooms, and The lobby is like also like where everybody's like going to be drawing and hanging out, and there's no room for like countertops or dividers to keep like the public away from our stuff. So it kind of feels like we're destined to keep the doors locked. But I don't know, I'm really excited. It's a really cute space, and we've been working on it over the last 3 months. I mean, my partner's been doing most of it. I just kind of dip in after work and on Saturdays. But it's great. We're hoping to be in there this fall. I'm so excited for all the things like working heat. It's got like some kind of an AC type thing. It's like north facing, so there's no baking sun on the windows. I'm just really excited to work in a space that is like sort of temperature controlled. Right now, the space we're in, it's in the winter, we run the heat 24/7, and it never gets over like 16, 17 degrees.
Oh my God.
It's brutal. And then
that's cold on the island.
I know. Yeah. I know. And then in the summer, it's just like fucking baking. It's, all glass front and then a sun skylight. So the heat's always just pouring in. So I'm so looking forward to it. I can't wait.
Nice. Taking your time getting it open too, eh?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Taking the time. Well, my old lease isn't up until January, so I don't feel there's no pressure. And I'm also like, I'm working full time and making a shop, and I'm 50. Like, I'm tired.
Change is hard.
Change is hard. Yeah. But I'm over the moon about it. I can't believe it happened. Like, it's all my wife. Like, she was so, just rabid about getting our own place. She's like, we should stop paying a lease, and I was like, I don't think it'll ever happen. But she did it. She figured it out. Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, she knows what's best when it comes to, I think, the business side of stuff like that.
Oh, you're lucky to have a good partner like that. That's makes all the difference.
God, this makes all the difference.
Yeah.
When she came on and started managing, like co-managing or whatever with me, it just made everything so much better. Like, I like running a shop is fun, but it's so much work.
Yeah, and as tattooers, it's tough, right? Because we think the only business we really know how to run is a tattoo shop, and we don't ever do it well.
Yeah,
like managing people isn't our forte.
Yeah,
like, it's nice to have someone who comes in with other experience. It's like, well, that's fucked up. Like, we're not putting up with that shit. Like, just tell them.
And then she'll say something like, "Why is this like this?" And I'm like, "Oh, well, that's easy. Here, it's just because of this thing." And she's like, "That doesn't make any sense." And I'm like, "No, it really does if you understand the history of it."
Yeah, totally. Well, this guy said you do it like that, so that's why we all do it like that.
Exactly that.
Yeah. Oh, crazy. So your shop's going to open, and you got who's working with you?
Oh yeah, who's working with us? I have my apprentice Ari. Hi, Ari.
Shout out to Ari. we don't know her.
And this person, Emma. Her Instagram is Gutter Tattoos, which is, I think, an unfortunate Instagram. She's much better than Gutter Tattoos.
Sounds badass though.
Yeah, she's doing like, and I think that's what she wants. She wants to do like kind of grimy, heavy metal-y kind of. She's really into like single needle stuff. It seems all the rage, I think, with the youngins right now. And then I have a hand poker. Her Instagram is Charlie Labs. She's the best hand poker I have ever seen.
Cool.
Her shit is immaculate. And it's really hard because I want to be chill about hand poking because I kind of love it. Like I kind of love the punkness and the like, you know, and the like low key way you can just get into it. And it seems like if you are trying to learn to tattoo, that's a pretty great avenue to go down. But she has ruined it for every hand poker that ever wants to come work with us. Because every time someone is like, I've been hand poking for 3 years and I want to come in, and I'm like, no, your stuff isn't even half as good as Charlie's. And Charlie's stuff is so fucking good.
Yeah, hand poking stuff doesn't have to actually look like it was hand poked.
No, absolutely not.
There's some fantastic hand poker tattooers, man, that just blow my mind. And some of the speeds, like some of the stuff that I see, and then they'll put how many hours, and I'll be like, you did that in 20 hours, like a back?
Right.
What the fuck? Like,
yeah.
The artistic value that I hold for hand poking is like, I love that stuff. It's like anything else. There's stuff about it I don't like because there's a bunch of people doing it that don't really give a shit, don't really want to be good. But then there's such value to it, though, with so many others that are actually bringing artistic value and whatnot to it and trying to better themselves. They don't need to better the industry or the community or whatever. They're just making themselves better with each tattoo. That's amazing. Like, I love it.
Yeah. That's how I feel. I'm trying to get her to switch to machine, or to not switch, to start using machine, just because I want to see what she can do with that.
Yeah.
But I'm also happy if she doesn't, because she's so good at it. I just like watching. I like watching, like being around it. It's so I don't know, it's just so fantastic.
I think it's so primitive, and I think tattooing could use a little bit of that again. You know, like it's so it strips away all premise of being fancy, you know, and it's just a person and needles. Like,
it's so great. And she like just pulls in like the most like non-hand pokey kind of clientele. You know, they're just like, some people are just coming in and just like, I just want to try this. And I don't know. It's just, I think that having a hand poker in the shop is like such a strong addition.
Has she had any clients come in that had no idea they'd be getting a hand poke tattoo and got one? Could you imagine like rolling up and sitting down and you're like, wait, what?
I feel like she must have, like, well, maybe not. I don't know. We work the same day, so I'm always there, and we work side by side, so I'm always listening in. But I feel like everybody probably knows by the time.
Yeah.
You know, private studio, there's so many hoops you have to jump through to get an appointment. You know everything by the time you're in the shop.
Totally.
Yeah, and then our guest resident, I guess, is Kara. Her Instagram is Crashing Cadence. She works out of a shop in Nanaimo. I don't know what the name of it is. I'm totally forgetting. But she comes down. She has 4 days a month. And works. I think she's like five or 6 years in. I think. Real dinosaur heavy tattooing.
Dinosaur heavy, just lots of dinosaurs.
Many dinosaurs. Like that's her thing. It's like dinosaurs and party hats and whatever.
I love it.
But that's her career. She's doing like amazing, like just killing it with that. So
that's amazing.
It's really cool.
I have a guy, Greg, that works for me. If he could just tattoo like dinosaur fossils for the rest of his career and maybe the odd military badge, he would be in heaven.
Military badge.
It sounds like your shop is really eclectic. I love to hear that.
Yeah.
That's, you know, it's not just full of all the same. You know,
no, I definitely made a really strong push in my hiring practices after coming out that I'm not working with the same people I've worked with in the past. Like, those guys are all great, and but they're kind of a part of tattooing that I don't really see myself in, and I don't really feel, and I never really felt like I was truly a part of. And so I kind of am sort of building the shop that I want it to be the shop that's like the bridge in between the like the queer like the queer private studios that are you can only find if you know someone who knows someone who knows someone. And a street shop, like I want to be that space where like people who are queer, who maybe don't want to do the like kind of more magical sort of hidden away kind of thing, but are also maybe not ready to work in our street shop. You know, can work in a space that is like kind of putting all the, you know, putting all that stuff in the center, trans center, queer center, just to like, I don't know, I want to make the space that I wish I had started working at it first.
Yeah.
You know, because I think my life would be so different if I had, you know, I mean, it was obviously a much different thing back then, but, you know, it would have been, I want to just make the space that I wish I had, I guess.
Yeah.
So I make a really strong push to hiring queer people and people who are allies to queer people, obviously. And, you know, when we're looking for somebody or, you know, the first things that I'm looking for is how they fit in the shop and why they want to be in the shop, how they fit in the shop, and what they're going to bring to the shop and what they want to bring into tattooing. And then fifth, let's see your work. Like, because I feel like the first four things are like really important to me and my space.
Yeah.
And the last thing is something that's kind of malleable. Like you can
help.
We can work with that. Like,
totally.
you know, if the like, I don't know, if you know that the pointy end, which end goes to which, then
absolutely,
you know, we can fix it.
Yeah.
It.
You know, in a day and
I don't
age,
care how good the person is. If they're a total shitbag,
yeah,
I don't want to work with them.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, exactly.
No thanks.
Yeah, we started. We put together it was like a diversity, equity, inclusion. It was like an online course. I guess it was a course. We put it together with my partner's friend who runs a company in Vancouver, does that kind of stuff for Hollywood North. And she tailored one kind of for tattooing. We set it up and invited every owner in town to come and like sit in and talk about this stuff. It came out of the sort of all the sexual assault stuff that was happening in 2020. We got it in our minds that maybe if all the owners knew each other, we would maybe talk to each other when people who were predatory left our spaces, and then maybe they wouldn't get a job the next day up the street.
Yeah.
And so we put this together. We ended up meeting, only 4 shops showed up. They're all women. And I'm not super, well, okay, not all women. Chris Hold showed up as well. But from Victoria, all women. And I wasn't really surprised, but out of that meeting, we started talking with one of the other women that owns a shop in the city. And she had said that she has an integrity contract that they put together as a shop. The whole shop got together and sort of said, this is what we sort of want in our space. And so it's obviously it's a not legally binding contract, but it is just kind of ours I think is like 5 pages, and it says this, and it pretty much just lists point form. This is what we expect from you as an artist in the shop. This is what you can expect from us as an artist in the shop. And everyone who comes to work with us signs it. A lot of people have not wanted to sign it, and they don't come work with us.
Crazy.
And it's turned into this fantastic filter because I don't think it's super important. It's this thing that sort of says all the things you want. I'm going to be on time. I'm not going to come in drunk. I'm not going to come in high. Like it's just all the things.
Yeah.
But there are people in tattooing that really don't like that stuff, and that's fine. They don't have to like
They
it.
find their own spaces too, right?
Absolutely. There's
exactly.
lots.
Right.
There's,
Like
I can probably think of 5 they can go work at up the street from me, and that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really cool, and it's this little, I don't know, it's just this little thing that we can have now, where when someone is like, "Hey, I want to come and guest spot," and we just say, "Sure, here's this. Take a look at it." And some people come back, and some people don't, and it doesn't have to be a conversation or anything. Just look at this. If you don't like it, see ya.
Yeah.
No, I think it's good to have expectations, and I think people, if you know what the expectations are, it makes things way clearer.
Yes.
It's like, what's expected of me? Oh,
yeah.
Okay, well, I can abide by that. Like, that makes sense. You know?
Time, I'm out.
Yeah.
I've had so many guest spots where the expectations that I think are normal to expect, I'm like shocked to find out are not. Like, I'll show up and it's like, oh yeah, I know you're here today, but we actually don't have a station for you. And it's like, neat.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. What?
I guess I'll change my schedule around for the 3 days I'm here.
No. Wow.
But like that, to me, that's just an expectation. But obviously, like, it's not for everybody. Not
No.
everybody is.
Not everyone can run a shop, though.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not everybody can run a shop, and not everybody can work in a lot of shops.
Yeah.
Right? Like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I've had so many, for me especially, I've had so many like not great guest spots. I think most of them, that I don't like to do them. I don't want to do them, but I want to make sure that when people do them with us, that everything is so clear. Like, this is what you're going to get, and all of this stuff is like immovable. It will happen for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Actually, Ryan Halter, he has it in his shop. Like, when I was there, and he had it in the drawing area. It was like, this is what is expected, and this is what.
Yeah.
Right.
That's so great.
You didn't have to sign it or anything, but it was there, printed. And it's like, this is what you get. This is the percentage. This is this and this and this. And
that's
I'm
so
like,
great.
Oh, that just makes sense. Why has it never happened before?
Yeah, totally.
But we hire, so many shops still hire blindly. Oh, you know how to tattoo? Cool. You can, it's like, do you even know that person? Like, I've fired people and then never get asked by any new shops like, oh, well, how come that person's not with you anymore? It's like, I don't know, because they're 3 hours late every day. Like,
yeah. I had a coworker. He was fighting with a coworker. He spat on their setup.
Oh.
In front of their customer.
What?
While I'm tattooing on the bed right beside him. And then he left.
Yeah.
And the next day he came back and he was like, I guess we have to deal with it. And it's like, yeah, we have to deal with it. And it's really easy for me.
Yeah.
And he's just like, well, can we work through it? And it's like, no. But he had he had a job the next day. And nobody called me. Nobody said, why did he go? Because he fucking spat on. Like, who fucking does that? It's
unacceptable.
Yeah.
Not okay.
But that was the thing, and that was the thing. One of the things that really made Sarah want to do this thing, to get all the owners sort of talking, because it's not like, I don't know. It's such a weird thing. Like, I don't want to tank anybody's careers. I don't want to, especially for something that they've done in like a moment of rage or whatever. But also, I don't know. Then there's another part of me that's like, well, I mean, now he's their problem, so like, at least he's not mine.
Yeah.
But yeah,
if you're an owner and you're not doing your due diligence hiring somebody, I mean, that's on you. Like,
yeah,
absolutely.
It's like, you didn't make a phone call. Like, really? Like, holy fuck.
I've never gotten a phone call.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah. So
I've had lots of long phone calls about people who have come to work for me.
Well, I think when Brian left, I got a phone call from Chris. He but I think it was more of a like, is this okay? Is this going to be okay? Because I think we were all pretty friendly at the time. I mean, I guess we're still friendly now. I don't know. I don't ever go out or see anybody or do anything.
Just when you're 50.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I'm not at the shop, and I guess I don't need to go to a shop.
No.
I'll go shopping or something.
Yeah,
instead.
like sometimes people say stuff like that to me, like, "Oh, I never see you out." It's like I'm 51 years old. I don't need to be hanging out at the cool bar on a Tuesday night. Like,
no.
That, like, you should have been born sooner so that you could have done that with me long time ago. Like,
Exactly.
you know, like,
Exactly.
I don't think I'm better. Like, I've heard people say, like, "Oh, he thinks he's better than people." I'm like, I don't think I'm better than anybody. I'm much older than you.
Yeah.
I go to a convention and I'm like done by 6. Like, you know, just done.
I'm amazed you can even go to conventions. I just look at them and I'm like, I just can't. All the because right now all I'm working with, they're all in their 20s, and then they're just like, what about conventions? And I'm like, no.
Oh, Jerry, you come do them like we do them. Just show up and do a few hours and go home. It's great. You just go and like.
What's the point? Then it just costs a bunch.
Oh, no, not
we don't
another
even
town.
We just go walk around.
Yeah, we don't tattoo.
Oh,
anything.
I see. Oh, no booth. Just like hang out.
Yeah.
Just go visit people that you may still like. And then that's it.
It's fun.
I've only ever gone to conventions and worked as hard as I possibly could. I wouldn't know what to do if I wasn't working.
Oh, you look at portfolios, you talk to young people because they're all young people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. Get jazzed on like all the good work that's coming out. Like when we were just in Okanagan, it's amazing. It's just like, who is this person? Who are these people? And it's just like, oh my God, they're doing such cool shit, you know?
And they're nice.
You know, it's like, because there's just too many people on Instagram to follow. You can't follow everybody.
Follow them all.
And I don't really care to follow everybody. You know what I mean? It's
it's too hard.
Yeah, it's just like, fuck it, you know? So it's been enjoyable these last 2 conventions I've done with Dave where we've just wandered around and been the tattoo tourist, you know? And
yeah,
it's like, oh, this is pretty cool, man. There's some really good shit that coming out, you know? And
every once in a while,
I should do that.
Every once in a while you hit gold like that. Kale Crystal.
Oh,
we interviewed him, and what a personality! Like, what a beautiful human, you know. Like, does great work, is just a joy to be around, and young and eager, just fucking great, you know.
Yeah,
just makes you want to go home and tattoo and be immersed in it again, you know.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah,
that's definitely going to be my favorite thing about working with young people.
Yeah,
yeah,
they're just so into it.
Yeah, totally.
Right? Yeah. Just very cool. Very cool.
So what's the future for you and Tattoo Zoo?
I think just a lot more of the same, really. Like I'm in a really good place, I guess. I'm just doing just plugging away, I think.
So you're still tattooing full times, like full time, like 5 days a week, full days,
or 4 days a week. 1 day, kind of like consults, and then the other 2 days are kind of like drawing for the 4 days.
Okay. So I'm still really full time.
6 days a week,
still
7
still
days a
really,
week.
6 days for sure. Like, I think there's three weekends a month where I kind of say I need to not think about tattooing for one full day, and I'll just do nothing.
Wow.
But it's because I still do custom tattooing, and I'm queer. Those two things don't really go together. There's not a lot of queer custom tattooers. So, and then you throw in the thing about me doing cover-ups, which is probably about 75% of what I do. It's like there's just not a person in the city or in the vicinity that like hits all of those marks. So if someone is if maybe someone doesn't want to, if someone is looking for like a safer space to be tattooed and they are maybe worried about their gender identity or something, or the way that they're going to be perceived in a standard tattoo shop, then they know they can come to me. They know I'm not going to be a weirdo about it in any capacity. It doesn't really matter. Like, I tattoo a lot of trans people, and in various degrees of transition or not transitioning at all. And I think I've been led to believe that most of them feel pretty safe and secure with me. And so I feel like I'm a little bit of a hot commodity, I guess, because the intersection, I guess, of like who I am and what I do. It's and the experience level is just not. It's a little bit rare, especially like in the west, on the west coast of Canada, maybe. I don't know. And so there's just so much work. So I can't say no, and I want to help, and so I just keep taking stuff on, and my sort of heart feeling about tattooing is based on the service side of it. So I can't stop doing it. Somebody will say weekly, like, you should draw some flash. You should draw some flash, because then you won't have to do so much drawing. And it's just like, but then who will draw?
Yeah.
These people, they need their savior. Like, I need to do it. I can't stop because I have the ability, and it doesn't seem to destroy me. I still feel like I have a bit of a life.
Seems like it fills you up.
Yeah, it fills me up. This summer is like, with the new shop, is like really, it's really intense for like time wise. But last year I didn't have this feeling, so I know that it's temporary. You know, once we move, everything will start feeling more relaxed, and I think I can get back to being super excited about everything. But I love, like, that's a part of the job that I love so much that I don't want to give it up. So I can't, and that means I have to keep working.
I think, I've talked about this a lot in the past with friends, with tattooers, that the most important thing is serving your community.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you do, online. It doesn't matter what you do, like, in faraway places for guest spots and conventions. What really matters is at home, in your studio, your community, and serving them. And I think it's great to hear you talk about you finding that and doing that. Not enough people think about it that way, like, it's really, right. I think there's a personal reward in that for the artist, but it immerses you in your community, like, you create it.
Yeah. Without the, I mean, just, it's like I said about apprenticeships, like, everything's really relational for me, and the job itself is relational, so for me, obviously, like, I'm not friends with everybody I tattoo, but it feels like it when we're working together. Because the job for me is so relational, and it's so service-based that it's just me kind of doing what they want. I think in the past, like, we would feel like on the Reed Street thing, or maybe it was Tattooodles, somebody would always sort of say, is tattooing a craft or an art? And, and I've always been like, it's a craft, it's not an art. Like, art is making a thing out of your brain that you want to make. Craft is writing a name on somebody's arm that they want you to do. Like, it's like,
it's artistic, but it's not art.
Yeah. Like, I'm building IKEA. I'm not building a house. I'm following directions. So I've always, that's always been for me where it's been at. But now, like, being, sort of being me, being who I am, is very, like, it's sort of come to the forefront, and so it's definitely something that I want to do. And there's no small part of that is the relationship that that an out trans person has with their body. That moves into tattooing so easily. My body is so important to me, and, like, claiming my body is important to me, and or reclaiming my body, and tattooing is definitely, like, a part of that for me. And I can only assume it's a part of that for for a lot of my clientele. And so it's definitely something that I just want to really do. So I just work as much as I can.
Yeah, that's awesome.
To make it happen. You know, and maybe it will slow down for me. I always think about this thing that Adam Sky said. He said nobody wants to get tattooed by the old guy in the back. They want to get tattooed by the hot young guy that that they could be friends with. And it's always kind of, as I'm aging, it's always like in the back of my head, like I don't want to be the old creep in the back. You know, but it's not happening for me like that. So I'm just trying, I think, to do what I can while I can. I don't know. Maybe there's something about street shop, being raised in a street shop, being brought up in a street shop, that it's like, I'm busy now, so I need to stay busy. And, you know, and it's just, you know, unfortunate for me that that's just not ending.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
it's awesome. And your clientele ages with you to a certain degree, but I think like what you're talking about being, you know, an intersection of a number of different things, that just brings you clientele from all those things. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Like if you're just another traditional dude tattooer out there, you're not really going to be bringing in a lot more clientele. You know, like, they got to worry.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's really nice for me to be like at this sort of stage in my life, at this sort of stage in tattooing, and to see the way tattooing has been shaped since COVID. I mean, it was probably happening before COVID, but I didn't see it until then. It seemed to really ramp up, and I feel like it's really shifted some stuff for people, and maybe that's you know, it might be something just so simple as like it's trends that I'm not following that other young people are, and I don't understand it because I'm too old, or it's just a shift in the way people are looking at it, and seeing what it can be or what they want it to be. I don't know.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Man, it was so great to catch up with you and catch your story. And
it's been awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah. I was really nervous about this, but I didn't need to be.
No,
we went easy on you.
I listened to a bunch of your podcasts to get prepared.
Awesome.
I was like, I need to figure this out, see what this is all about.
No,
it's really nice.
Yeah, excellent. We just like, it's so cool to get a person's opinion and history, you know, on record, like, and dive into it a little bit. And, you know, this format is perfect for that. It's just, it's great.
It's really great.
Yeah. Cool. How can people find you online?
On Instagram, Geri Kramer Tattoos.
Awesome. And Liquid Zoo in Victoria.
What?
Liquid Zoo in
Tattoo
Zoo. Oh, Liquid Zoo's a bar in town here.
Liquid Zoo.
Liquid Zoo. Yeah, that's the local drinking hole in Kelowna.
I love it.
No, it's horrible.
That's why your face is red. All right.
Awesome.
Yes. Fantastic.
Well, Geri, it's been great.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much.
No worries. We'll catch up soon.
I hope so.
All right.
Bye.
See you.
Awesome.
Yeah. She's red.
Yeah. I got to run.
Okay.